Turbo Trading with head trader Robert Knight, MBA.
Okay, so I was asked the question today about support and resistance, and what time frames do you use to determine where to draw the support and resistance lines? And it's a very good question. There's two questions that have to be answered first, though. Are you looking at it as a day trade, or are you looking at it as a swing trade? So, but in that sense, when you're looking at a swing trade, you're looking more at the longer term trend lines, support and resistance lines, than you are on an intraday trade where you're looking at, minor support. But at the end of the day, the lines still need to be respected, whether it's a swing trade or a day trade. So when I'm drawing the trend lines, support and resistance lines for, let's just talk about day trading, I do always start with a longer term chart because I want to see where the main levels are going to be. And so this SPY chart, really, this is almost like a head and shoulders pattern. And if you look at it, you'll see that right in here is a resistance level. Now, it's important to keep your chart simple. And really, we just trade with three things: support, resistance, and trend lines. We use the moving averages quite often just to show us direction or maybe a change in pattern. But the key ones are the support and resistance and the trend lines. So we see that this is, from an intraday or a longer term perspective, there's a resistance at 44.80. This stock popped out through support today, and you might want to look here. And what I do is I look to the left, and I see where I have resistance levels, which was here. And you find when you draw that all the way across, you can see it was support here. It broke through that, and then it was resistance here. It was resistance here. But the day it popped up through that, and this is probably 44.30 area. Now we're at 44.38. So we can see now that this line here is going to be a support level. Resistance lines, once it's broken, turn into support lines. So the first thing I'm looking at is on a daily chart. I'm trying to find where we have major support and resistance areas, and that's these 2 points right there for now. Perhaps down in here is another support area for it. So now I'm going to just go out a bit and look at the 2-minute chart and see where these lines come in at. And you can see here it crossed here, and you can see that it held the support when it pulled back in here. So these are your support areas. So maybe I'll just move it up a little bit because let's say I'm doing an intraday trade, a day trade. Now, it doesn't matter what the symbol is. It's all the same. The support and resistance lines are always drawn at the same place, regardless of the symbol. And that's at support and resistance. So I see in this chart, this was support in here at 44.30. And here's my resistance up here on an intraday at 44.38. Tried to get through it several times. So this stock, which happens to be the SPX, is trading in a range now between 44.30 and 44.39. Now if we back that out, we can see that there's no real other spot for this level here. Let's see, we'll go back further. Yeah, I guess so. In here, you start seeing resistance at this level here. You can see here and here, which in fact does correspond with this line that I drew here. So there was a reason why this stalled at the 44.39 level, and that comes way back into this level here, back in here. And then we see this is, again, we would have resistance here at 44.60, 44.66. But if you're intraday, if it's an intraday, you don't want to go too high up because, the stock's never going to hit those targets, hit those areas. But So just to reiterate, you start with a daily, you find where you have major support and resistance levels, and then you back it off to 2 minute or 5 minutes so you can go back and see where it corresponds in the last 4 or 5 days. And as we saw, that this line here that we drew actually did correspond back, well, this support level here corresponded back to October 7th, and the resistance area went back into September. So you don't necessarily have to go back that far, because you see that this line that I drew here already represents a resistance for some reason, and that reason was back in end of September. But it was enough to draw a line. Now, maybe when this broke out over this, you were thinking, okay, where is this going to go? You need to go back then to that level to see where the next resistance level, where it is for it. But in this case, it had, looking at this, if I was looking to trade this tomorrow, I'd say, okay, where's my resistance and support levels? We see that it's in this range. It's caught in this range here between the 44.30 and 44.39. Those are your support and resistance levels. Now maybe let's go look at another stock that we traded today. The just let me look at that one. This was a stock we traded today. The GRVI was very volatile. And if we look at it, we see it had a huge spike up. So we would go back and we would look and see where are some areas of support and resistance for the stock from back there. And we see 7 is probably a key level for it. And then there was another one in here right around 750, 740. Those ones. But when we were looking at the intraday, it did spike up and it formed this basing pattern. And I did say bearish, or I said it's in a range between 785 and 840, 850. In that range, it's neutral. Above is bullish, below is bearish. And we see that in this case, this is the key range. It doesn't really matter what happened prior, because it did have a big spike up, and these other levels are maybe too far back to worry about. But in this case, I'm drawing it with the 2-minute chart, because the 1-day chart didn't really give us any indicators of any consequence. And then if we even go back to the 1-hour chart, it doesn't really give us much other guidance than the daily chart did. So using the 2-minute chart, we can draw these trend lines in here, or these support and resistance lines. And here we see it failed badly, and it actually failed to hold the 7 support as well. So that now it becomes resistance 7 and 750. So I hope that explains the support and resistance time frame.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Reach new levels of trading proficiency. Become a member at turbotrading.biz.